Ever since the initial release of news for the Crystal Lake prequel series from A24 Studios, Peacock, and Bryan Fuller, former showrunner of Hannibal, the news has been a bit sparse. We got, updates here and there every couple days, every couple weeks. They drop something, and it's kind of leveled off back to pre-release levels of hit or miss news. And then we got the news of Sean Cunningham developing a new Friday the 13th movie. So after 14 years of nothing outside of a video game, we got all of this news at once. So I'm covering this slowly but surely as it comes out for you here. We've got an article from Slash Film, not the most reputable source of information, but it's not really a make or break kind of article. It's just kind of filling in the blanks, a little bit behind the scenes from Bryan Fuller and how he relates to the character of Pamela Voorhees, who is going to be the focus, at least in season 1 of this prequel series, which I've had my druthers about, but some new Friday the 13th, either way, will be nice, and given she's the antagonist of the first movie, I can't say as I mind this too much. So let's get into it. Let's check out this article from Slash Film, and I'll give you my thoughts along the way. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday the 13th time. Let's go. Bryan Fuller fell in love with Friday the 13th because of Pamela Voorhees. I fell in love with Friday the 13th because of this movie in particular, this iteration of Jason. This is Jason from Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. This is the introduction of, which is a bad name for him, but we'll just call him that, Zombie Jason, because this is where he was reincarnated. The best horror villains are the ones that make us feel a twinge of compassion. A sympathetic origin story can leave the audiences doing mental gymnastics when they find themselves feeling empathy for someone killing people on screen left and right. As Exhibit A, I present Jason Voorhees, known in pop culture vernacular simply as Jason, the subhuman killer from the Friday the 13th franchise, hacks his way through a gaggle of horny teens for the better part of a dozen films and a brief TV series. But in the TV series, Jason was never featured in there, so I'm gonna have to call that part of the article. It should have been left out because your editor should have known that Jason was never in the TV series, nor was he connected. The series was connected in name only. I'm not dogging the show. The show was fun. It was really fun, but just not connected really to the franchise, in name only. During that time, he's also gone to space, vacationed in New York, and battled fellow killer Freddy Krueger. And now, he's back. Sorry, wrong horror franchise. Well, maybe. Peacock recently announced Friday the 13th prequel series Crystal Lake. Legal battles that are arguably more scary than the movies have made it somewhat unclear who will or won't appear in the new series, but that's okay because it's actually Jason's mother, Pamela Voorhees, that made Crystal Lake showrunner Bryan Fuller of Hannibal fall in love with the franchise. Well, see, that's okay for a season. As a huge fan of this franchise, like this is my, outside of like Star Wars and things like that, this is my favorite franchise. You know, it's not just my favorite horror, it's one of my favorite franchises overall. So I care a lot about this, and I want to see this done right. And I don't feel like Pamela has more than one season to carry this show. Friday the 13th typically evokes images of Jason in a hockey mask and the chilling tune that accompanies most of his kills. But longtime fans of the franchise are well aware that Jason barely makes an appearance in the first movie and that the hockey mask doesn't enter the equation until Friday the 13th Part 3. Yes, we are aware of that. But, you know, this whole thing can be remedied. Jason's tragic origin story has always made him the focus of the franchise. A quick refresher. As a child, Jason lived with physical abnormalities and mental disabilities. His mother Pamela was employed by Camp Crystal Lake. While staying at the camp with his mother, Jason was bullied and thrown into the lake where he drowned. No one was ever held responsible for Jason's presumed death. In the first film, the son of original Crystal Lake owners, they're talking about Steve Christie, attempts to reopen the camp 22 years after Jason's drowning. Pamela Voorhees avenges her son by killing the owner and all but one of the camp counselors. That would be Adrian King's Alice Hardy. Pamela is eventually decapitated by the lone surviving camp counselor Alice, who then discovers Jason is still alive. That is the dream sequence at the end of the movie. Because of his own experiences, producer Bryan Fuller says Jason's tragic backstory and the undying love from Pamela are what made him fall in love with the series. Okay. Kind of odd, but you know what? Everybody has their own reasons why they fall in love with certain horror franchises and certain things. So, yeah, we can go with that.
Yeah, that's it, Ticket.
Fuller could relate to Jason's mother. Okay. Bryan Fuller revealed to Fangoria his earliest experience with storytelling began by sitting around campfires retelling the Friday the 13th plot synopsis to his friends. It was also around this time he developed empathy for Jason Voorhees and his mother. I was working with special needs kids, Fuller revealed. I was hyper aware of the challenges of parenting special needs children. Okay, that makes a little more sense.
All right, I'll let that one slide.
That awareness is what drew Fuller to Friday the 13th. For him, the movie wasn't just a scary slasher flick. It was made personal because of Pamela Voorhees and what she did for her son. One of the kids I sat with during most of that volunteer work, his mother simply couldn't handle him. He was amazing and unique and had a different sort of intelligence, but he was also nonverbal. His mother couldn't get far enough away from him. And so, when I read about Friday the 13th and saw the lengths Pamela Voorhees would go to for her special needs child, I found myself in this Venn diagram of influences, and I fell in love with the series. Fuller says nothing is off the table as far as what Crystal Lake will include. Given his emotional connection to Pamela Voorhees, I expected the complete relationship between Pamela and Jason to be passionately explored. I feel that I'm in a unique space to tell this story and to make sure it is loved and cared for appropriately, Fuller said. Crystal Lake does not yet have an official streaming premiere date listed. All right, so hearing that, I have a little less trepidation going into it than I did beforehand. It's honestly nice to hear the motivations behind the showrunner and what he particularly identifies with or likes about the franchise. And his background sets me at ease a little bit. And that may sound weird, but it really does, because I have a feeling with the writing and direction of this now, it'll be handled with a little more care. And that still doesn't take away the fact that I still do not want more than one season of Pamela. I just don't. I don't think we need that. I don't want that. And it just seems like it would be a bit, I don't know. It would be a bit much with her. I feel like, I mean, there's really, depending on how far they want to go with it, I think what you should do, honestly, is the first season should be leading up to the events of the first movie to where we leave off maybe right as it starts. And then say they had to pick up the second season, which they do unless Peacock wants to pay a penalty or a fine for not having two seasons. They pick up the option for the second season. You time jump ahead to a fully formed Jason with the mask after part 3. Leave it ambiguously in the 80s, obviously. And start filling in blanks in between the movies. You know what I mean? There's space to tell stories in between the movies, and you can kill off ancillary characters in between those to just kind of keep the story going and develop Jason and just show some other aspects of it. And if they did season 3 and 4,
Let's make a movie.
So maybe you want to turn the 4th season into a movie, right? Now hear me out. You shoot it as a movie, but break it down into segments, right? So it would obviously be much longer than a movie, depending on the episode runtime, which a show like this is probably going to have a 45-minute runtime at least. 45 to 55 minutes, 60. So we'll say an hour. We'll say an hour runtime. So I don't know how many episodes they're going to do. If they're going to do 10 episodes, which would be fucking cool. Say they're going to do 10 episodes for the first season, and they're an hour apiece. So you have 10 hours. You have 10 hours to tell basically what really could amount to a trilogy of movies. All right. So if you can tell one very, very detailed story in that span, which, like I said, I wouldn't time jump more than once in that span. You time jump between season 1 and 2, and then have another, season 2 and 3 exist in, the same year to 2 year time span, and then season 4 can start off where 3 left off, and then you get a little bit into that, develop, time jump ahead to where you want to, wrap your show up in the second half of season 4, and then that leads into, whatever you want to lead it into, if you're going to do more or if you're going to do a movie to follow it up. So A24 has been successful as of late. They've been making money kind of in the Blumhouse model, except good. So I have still a lot of anticipation moving forward for this one. But there you have it, folks. There it is. There are my thoughts. There is some background information on Bryan Fuller and why he identifies and likes Pamela Voorhees, loves her as a character, and sees that relationship with her and Jason is something that he can build this series around, and I'm here for it. So leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel. It greatly helps us out. Hit that bell for notifications, and you'll be notified when we go live 3 times a week. You get 5 live streams a week if you're a channel member. That's right. I know the big channels, they might give you 1 to 2 live streams a month, but hey, I give you 2 a week. That's 8 a month if you do the Scott Steiner math. I'm Itepo Kui, and from the place to be reviews, I've been here with all of you. If I don't see you, have a great day, a pleasant tomorrow, and I'll catch you on the next one.
It's better to burn out than to fade away.
I could do this all.
This doesn't bode well.
You're lying. I never hit you. You are tearing me apart, Lisa.
No tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.